On this episode of Rock and Roll Radio, we have Gregg King on to talk about GrapplersPlanet.com, VVV Fight Co, competing, training, traveling around the world. Get ready to slap, bump, and roll. You're listening to Rock and Roll Radio. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 3 of Rock and Roll Radio. Today we've got a guest on in Gregg King. He's part of GrapplersPlanet.com, the owner of VVV Fight Co. He's an avid competitor, brown belt under Silvio Baring. He's going to have us talk about his journey and his influences and just pick his brain a bit for a while. But before we get to that, we're going to go over our topic of the day. And the topic of the day is going to be athleticism versus technique. Do you need both? Is one better than the other for one reason or another? This is something that gets debated heavily between different schools of thought. I'll start with my school of thought, where I come from. I train jiu-jitsu because I love jiu-jitsu, and I don't put the effort into training my body for jiu-jitsu outside of actually rolling. I hear there's benefits that can be gained through strength and conditioning for rehab or prehab for keeping joints healthy or strong, reinforcing bad areas. But myself, honestly, I get everything that I've needed so far out of my game just by rolling in class. So I would heavily put myself on the side of technique over athleticism. And I mean, I'm just not a specimen. I've never been an athlete, man. You couldn't get me to run a 200-meter dash without heaving by the end. So I've always had to rely on technique before athleticism anyways. So in my personal case, I would need to become an athlete to have to, weigh them equally, because I've always had to rely on technique. What about yourself, Logan?
Well, my personal belief is that I'm of the belief that technique is definitely the most important aspect. That being said, athleticism is extremely important and should be held in high regard. And sometimes I think that it's not held in high enough regard, in my opinion. Otherwise, if you were to go into competition and your opponent were equal in technique or close in skill, then it'll be your stamina, your strength, your flexibility. That's going to be these other attributing factors and attributes are there going to be what's going to come down to your win. Not so much. I mean, I'm assuming that the skill is equal. Otherwise, skill is definitely the most important.
Yeah. I mean, we can take point in cases with very popular or very highly credited grapplers, like, for example, Keenan Cornelius. He's a natural phenom in the way that he's used his body, especially from his purple belt up. You could see his career just start to skyrocket at that point. He started to really understand how to use his body with his crazy inverted and De La Riva and Berimbolo. He really started to use his length and his flexibility. That didn't come from his athleticism. But that being said, when he finally made the move over to Atos just before he got his black belt, I heard a interview he had done saying that he started doing strength and conditioning, and it wasn't because he needed to be the bigger, stronger guy or he wanted to jump up a weight class. What it was, like I was mentioning before, was he had bad joints, whether it was his knees, his shoulders, his elbows. There was always something hurting or, being thrown out or being the threat of the next injury to put him off the mats. And he got some advice from that gym saying you should do this strength and conditioning just to help stop those injuries from happening. Because you think about it, you've got ticking time bombs here and there from just overuse. The obvious answer a doctor's going to give you is stop training, but when that's not an option, you've got to strengthen those areas. So I can understand that for a guy who's training, 2 a days, 3 a days, all day long, all week long, is constantly at competitions. You can't keep that up with a human body without destroying it. So I can see why you would think that, right? You'd want to get those stronger tendons, so it's more reinforced muscle groups.
I know, man, those doctors, they do tell you to give up. They just tell you to stop. They're like, why are you even doing this if it's hurting you? Well, stop that. Like,
yeah, here's the pain pills. That will get you through to the next day, and then from then on, stop doing everything you love.
Quit being a dumbass. That's what the doctor, they give me that look every single time. Go see a physical specialist in some other department, not me. I'm a medical doctor.
Have you ever had to go in and get your ear drained? You seen that face before? Yeah, they look at you like, why is your ear puffed up like that
You're wasting
again?
our time, sir.
Yeah, like, you know how much these syringes cost? You want me to waste one on that? You know, you can just leave it alone and it'll go away. I'm like, every time you got to explain to them. Anyways, this is a crazy side topic.
But I mean, like, I'm not a doctor, I'm no specialist, but I will say this: if you're going to supplement your training with something to improve your athleticism, or as you were saying, prehab type training exercises, you got to know what you're doing and if you're doing it right or not, because there's definitely training exercises that can be detrimental to your fighting ability in a negative way.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, so, take something like finger exercises, for example, or joint exercises. You got to know that you're exercising it in a way that's doing it good and not bad towards martial arts. And if you were to take something like we were saying earlier, is running. A lot of people, boxers, have always ran for their cardio and their stamina, to improve their cardio and their stamina. But there's something different between fighting cardio and stamina and running cardio and stamina. There are runners that can jog for days, like Forrest Gump, one end of the earth to the other, right?
True story.
And then there are guys who, there's those same runners, if you were to put them into on the mats and get them to roll, they might not last 30 seconds and they'd already be tuckered out and puffing, right? Ultimately, you could take a grappler and get him to run sprints out on track, and he'd be gassed right away, right? And yet you can go for days on the mats, because it's kind of what your body has automatically engineered itself for, molded itself for the actual training, especially in sparring.
That's the argument I have a hard time coming to grips with in my head, is why would I go outside of what's already working for me? Because like you said, you can get these super athletes that come in and they're just the fresh white belt off the street that don't know anything and gas themselves out in a minute and a half. And I've personally experienced a guy who was very high-level rock climber, mountain biker, extreme athlete, CrossFit. He had that crazy athleticism that was just like, that stuff that you got to build through hard work, right? And he was very proud of that. He was the first thing to tell me right before we roll is, I don't do jiu-jitsu, but I do this and this and this, and I think that this will I'll really go far and fast in this. I'm like, okay, sure, okay. So first time we start sparring, and it was like less than 2 minutes, and he was ready to throw up, because it's a different type of cardio. You got to build that specifically. It's unto itself its own thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the perfect example. That's when it's very evident, is when you look at someone who's like maybe a bodybuilder fresh off the streets, and they come in and they start rolling early in their training, and people who've been training maybe a couple of years, a white belt with a few stripes or a blue belt, is tapping them out left, right, and center, because they have the technique and they're using that technique. And that technique, that little bit of technique that they've learned in the past couple of years, goes a long way compared to the years that this person may have been bodybuilding for, right? So the technique, a little bit of technique goes a lot further than a lot of athleticism. There is a line, though, where athleticism kind of catches up to it, but I think that's at the highest levels of competition. And as far as just your run-of-the-mill martial artist, I do think that your rolling in the gym, as long as you're doing it often, should be keeping you fairly steadily trained physically.
Sure, healthy and active, right?
Exactly, but there's definitely some gyms. Not so much in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is an art that forces itself to train realistically and drill live rolls. There's some martial arts where, like, I'm not going to pick on it, but Aikido, for example, where they don't practice live drilling, where it's not really two opponents fighting each other and trying to come out with a submission on top. It's one person throwing a light attack on the other person and that person practicing the art and defending against it. They're not actually pushing themselves physically and athletically. They're learning the techniques, they're practicing the techniques, but their lungs don't come into play, their muscles don't come into play, the speed and reflexes don't come into play as much as it does when you're actually forced to compete with your training partners. And I think that's a very important part of keeping the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners athletic and allowing them to be an athlete. You may not consider yourself an athlete because you're not running track, you're not lifting Olympic weights, but you are rolling in the gym regularly and you're rolling hard, and that's definitely improving your cardiovascular system, your respiratory system, your strength and flexibility.
Yeah, there's a famous quote from Marcelo Garcia where people were asking him, because he said he's never lifted weights for training ever. He doesn't do it. He's never has, never will. And he's obviously one of the greatest grapplers to ever grace planet Earth. And his quote was, paraphrased, something along the lines of, if I wanted to be a great swimmer, I would swim. If I wanted to be a great biker, I would bike. I want to be great at jiu-jitsu, so I do jiu-jitsu. And it's that mindset that will, I mean, he's thinking basically, I only got so many hours in the day that I can be training. Why would I set some of those away for not doing jiu-jitsu?
Exactly. I mean, there's only so much time to train, and what is more specifically training than actually rolling, which is what you're going to be doing on the mats anyways.
Like, it may be a nearsighted thing to say that, because you look at these masters and seniors grapplers as they're getting older, and sure, maybe they could have done with some more prehab, because they're starting to get terrible joints from all these extra hours they're putting on the mat. But I guess I'm not there yet so much, so I can definitely see the benefit in as many hours as you can train. You could get better faster. Yeah. There's another saying that people use that say, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. But there's a converse of that, is when talent works hard, no one can stop it.
That's pretty deadly combination, hard work and talent. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that if you have off time from training and you're, like, for example, if you're sparring in the gym and in your 5-minute roll session, you're getting tuckered out halfway through a round, you're getting tuckered out in 2.5 minutes, but you're not gonna, and you have time the next morning to do uphill sprints, I suggest, do your uphill sprints. That will increase your cardio and your stamina. If you're feeling weak or you want to move up a weight class and you want to lift some weights, especially if you're doing it in a functional way, then definitely do that. If it's not cutting into your mat time. But ultimately, mat time is not only the most fun form of training; it probably is just the best form of training.
Yeah, and I should definitely put it out there that not all training is equal for everybody. So what I'm trying to get at is there are certain people that aren't a sponge, right? They don't see a technique and use it immediately. They have to drill it. They have to drill it for hours. Some people are naturally gifted that they just pick stuff up immediately. Other people, they have to be that grinder. They have to be that John Fitch to put in hard work to get up to where the naturally talented technician is at. And I think that taking the argument from that side is there are people who are naturally athletic and they have to use that to learn jiu-jitsu, and there are people who are naturally technicians and they use that to learn their jiu-jitsu. And I honestly think that they can end in the same spot at the same level of that black belt competitor, being either person, as long as they put in the work. Like we're saying, like both people should have to work, because if that talented guy refuses to put in the work, then that hard worker is going to beat him. Definitely.
100%. And we're not saying that there aren't extracurricular activities that every jiu-jitsu fighter should be doing anyways, because definitely stretching and having a proper diet and a basic nutrition plan that's going to supplement your training, and just reading, learning techniques on the sides. These are all things you can do on the side outside of class. We're just saying that you don't have to be doing jumping jacks and squats to be a good grappler.
Yeah. Yeah, there was another good quote. I'll try to stop throwing quotes out there because it's all I've been doing this time. But Firas Zahabi, who's the head trainer at TriStar, head trainer of George St. Pierre and Rory McDonald and a dozen other notable MMA stars, he has a saying that he doesn't like junk training.
Junk training, exactly.
And I like that because his definition of junk training is anything during, say you've got an hour to train. You're at this class and it's an hour class. He said, once you start that hour, anything you're doing that's not martial arts or has some basis in the movements of martial arts is a waste of time. Like, you can get really good at doing, I don't know, for example, dive rolls or jumping jacks or something, but if it's something that you're not really going to use in your sport or your art or, in practical use, it's a waste of time. You're just working your cardio for the sake of working cardio when you could be, say, doing pummels or doing shot takedown drills or something
your sprawls, hip switches,
warms you up, but also you get that extra, XP for your game, right? You're getting that drill in even when you're just warming up.
Exactly. So if you every day for the next year train even 20 minutes, your warm-up is actual martial arts techniques like shadow boxing, for example, rather than just running laps, you're going to be practicing the techniques for 20 minutes every day, whereas your opponent in the tournament is going to be practicing, basic kinesthetic warm-ups like sit-ups and jumping jacks and push-ups and burpees for that 20 minutes every day. They may be getting a workout, but they're not training the technique. And this discussion is training versus technique. And I guess what we're trying to say is what you're training, if you're doing that, and what Firas Zahabi is trying to say is not junk training. Good training is when you're training your technique and your athleticism at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's ideal.
Yeah, exactly. Efficient.
Yeah, that's a good way to end this topic. We're going to get into some kung foolishness here before we get to Gregg King. And going to go over a certain technique, the knee bar.
The knee bar.
Bar.
Yeah, sure. This is a fantastic video that's been around for a little while now. It's of a no-gi match where one person ends up getting tapped by knee bar, and then all hell breaks loose after that.
Yeah, dude loses it. He snaps. He thought that knee bars were allowed.
You mean knee bars?
Knee bars.
Knee bars.
Knee bars.
Say knee.
Knee.
Then say bar.
Bar.
Okay, now say knee bar.
Knee bar.
Kidding me? You can't knee bar? Dude, I'm gonna submit you and you cry.
I mean, you gotta know the rules of the tournament you're gonna compete at.
Especially when it involves something like knee bars.
Bars.
In my opinion, you have to know how to deal with knee bars.
Bars.
It really does seem to bother this guy.
I don't think he got anything to change by arguing with the ref. In fact, he'd be lucky if he weren't disqualified.
One thing's for sure, he's going to pay attention in the future whether or not he's allowed to knee bar. Because you need to know a good knee bar when knee bars become legal at tournaments that allow knee bars so you can knee bar like a knee barring champ. Knee bar. Hi everybody, welcome to Lock and Roll Radio, episode number 3. We've got a really special guest today here in Gregg King. He's BJJ Brown Belt, moderator of Grappler's Planet. He's the owner of VVV Fight Co, avid competitor. Man, just really glad to have you on the show here today, Greg. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great, and I want to thank you and Logan to get me on the show. This is equally special for me, and I'm super excited about the opportunity to speak with you about our passion.
Right on, man. Yeah, this is. I know you're one of those guys that's always online, and it's probably even more than me, which is hard to do. But constantly posting and resharing BJJ stuff, man. You're one of those cool dudes out there that's keeping the art fun and alive and in everybody's face. I love it.
Thank you. It's a job, it's a passion. I just do it because it's part of me, but it's time consuming. But again, when you're living your dream, you don't count the hours, and it's just like fun to share with the people. And and just seeing the positive response is always like something that makes me, and it makes me happy to do it and motivated to keep going. So like everything, you're gonna have people that basically like naysayers or some haters, but I go beyond that, and they always say, oh, you're always online doing this and that, and then sometimes they don't agree with what you're saying or what you post, but you gotta go beyond and just try and keep it positive. That's what I'm trying to do. Keep it interesting and positive and as original as I can, and that's the difficulty in doing what we do, because it's very competitive. It's getting very competitive, but I try and keep it fun. I try and make sure that the message I'm trying to portray into what I'm posting is going in the same direction, which is basically growing the sport, making sure more and more people get to see it, more and more people see that we're like a good and fun community and we're serious also in what we do. And basically, like, I just want to, like, show the people that, like, we're interesting. And we're smart, we're interesting, we speak well, we're outspoken, more like, also that, like, we know how to take humor and just like smart. I'm trying to basically have it smart posting.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're trying to portray through the podcast too, is just to get the personalities out there, and get the stories from everybody that we hear, face to face when we're talking to each other, and really share it around the community. So we're glad to have you here today. So,
thank you.
For people who don't know who you are, you want to tell us a bit about yourself, your BJJ journey, where it started, how you've got to where you are. You're at Brown Belt today, so it's a good journey so far.
I will tell you, man, it's not easy. It has not been easy. I've been, in the past 7 years, I've started jiu-jitsu in I think between 08 and 09. Mm-hmm. I've been through a lot, like a lot of people, that's life. But, like, basically what happened is I found jiu-jitsu, I would say, like, magically. I say magically because, like, I always say to people, you don't find jiu-jitsu. Like, jiu-jitsu finds you. Like before, for example, I was bodybuilding, lifting weights. I was bigger. I was like 180 pounds. And then I'm just going at the good life, the local gym, and I see people rolling. I'm like, what is this thing? Like, what are you guys doing? And that was the period where I was more enticed to try some martial arts. I was more into boxing. I wanted to start boxing, maybe some karate, taekwondo, because that's what you're more familiar with.
Sure.
And so I see people rolling in that the studio, and I go to the person. I was like, what are you guys doing? Is it judo and stuff? Like, the normal question everybody asks. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and yeah, just I would say, like, the simple question everybody asks is like, oh, is this karate? It's not karate. It's judo. Like, what is wrestling? And I go, oh, this is jiu-jitsu. This was my first professor, Joey Los Reyes, from the Toronto Grappling Club. So I started, and I rolled. I was big. I was like jacked, and I was like, yeah, man, like, who do you want me to start with? He points me towards the small guy, the smallest guy on the mats, and I was like, I don't know, man. Are you sure? He goes, go ahead. So I roll. The guy catches me in the first 30 seconds in a triangle, a choke out, arm bars, takes my back. I do not understand what the hell is happening. Of course, I was like, oh, what the hell is going on? I'm not an egotistic guy. I don't like the ego. I try and put the pride aside. And I was like, okay, I got to do this again. And then he tasked me out. I go with another person, bigger person. There was a girl at the club as well. Man, it was a humbling experience.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, that's crazy. Like, I can lift this guy up. I can lift him with one arm, like, whatever you think in your mind at that time. I was like, I can break him in half. And then I was like, no, I got tapped like so many times. And I didn't know how to tap. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I just tapped my foot everywhere, smacking. I was like, it was crazy, man. So at the end of the class, Joe, the coach, was like, so did you like it? I was like, I like it, man. Like, when do I start? Like, I was like, I can't let a small guy beat me up like this. You know, I got to come back and just do better.
Yeah.
And then I think honestly, like I've never stopped from that day, man. Like that was it. It was a Nogi. It's not a school. It was just a program he was running there. So we're rolling every day, man. And from there it was nonstop jiu-jitsu. I only stopped when I got injured or when I had to stop or when I had to travel. You know, I was just like that was the only times I would stop. And then I was just an addict, man. I was a pure addict. I just love the feel when you're learning something new and then when you're applying it. And the main thing I'm addicted to until this day is when you try something new or you see something new and then you try, it doesn't work, and then when it finally works or you finally hit it, that's the feeling. That's the feeling I absolutely love in this sport, and it's so gratifying. You know, it's like, man, I finally hit it, and you drive home and you're like, man, I just got that move, man. That was, and it doesn't matter, white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, whoever it works on, you're like, man, I'm happy, man. Now I know it's battle tested.
Yeah, it feels
and
like
that was
magic.
from day one.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that we've experienced that before, and I like what you're coming from there, because a lot of people be like, you know, I go to class to train to become such and such a champion and be the best in my division. It's like, no, not everybody's going to do that, but everybody can train to make their techniques work, right? That's a feeling that everybody can strive to as a goal, and it's like you're saying, it's an addicting feeling, right?
Oh, it is totally addicting, but it's not, you know, like every people has different experiences. My experience is like this: the way my life was going, the way it was, you know, like I wasn't happy with my life, you know, like in the sense that I just graduated from business school, like, you know, in Monaco, and then I was getting a job to work a 9 to 5 in a bank and, like, you know, financial analyst or whatever, like, you know, I was getting a bunch of interviews, and, you know, like, deep down, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I always wanted to open my own business. I always wanted to do something like outside of an office. I always wanted to do something in sports. I've always been active, you know, and so when I found that, and, you know, like I did basketball before that, I was trying to play really competitive. I was, you know, trying to get at that high level. I played at university and in south of France in a really like big team. In Monaco, you know, I was really trying in some sports, and this just hit me like sideways. I was like, okay, I'm lifting weights, and then the other day I'm just finding a life experience, like, you know, sport. I don't even call it sport, like, or martial arts. I call it like, you know, it's just like a journey that just, like, you know, like a train when you just catch it, you know, and then the rail, like, you know, like it just connects, you know. Mm-hmm. If you see what I'm saying, it's kind of, you know, like. It's just like, okay, my train was going that way, and then the rails going this way, and it connected, you know, and I found this thing, and right away I fell in love with it for so many reasons, and I mean, like, that's why from that point I wanted always to share this with people, and that's why it leads to my business, and that's why it leads to my website, and you know, everything I do is basically like. From it took birth, it come to life because of that passion and that envy to share with other people and also to give back. Because, you know, like, we're here for a short period of time, and it's always the thing that you leave behind is your legacy, or the thing you leave behind is what you brought to people, and you know, to be positive about things.
Exactly. Okay, so on
that.
On this train of life of yours, you finally come to Grappler's Planet. Tell us how you started the Grappler's Planet and a little bit about the company itself.
Okay. So Grappler's Planet, again, like, it's just the way my life goes. Like, you know, I always try and I always try new things. I try to bring things to life that are in my mind. I got so many things that I want to make happen. And Grappler's Planet was one of them. I was in bed at one time after training. I was still a white belt. I was still white, but I was just gonna get my blue belt. And one day, you know, I was doing some other business before, and I'm in bed, like it's 3 o'clock at night. I was like, man, there's no websites out there. and there's no really websites about the community. Like, it's only forums and stuff. Like, and I'm talking about 2010, and that's when things were very, very new in this community. There was not as many companies or websites that there is now. I think there was only On The Mat, OTM. There was Shirt Dog. There was the MMA Underground as well. There was very few, and only a few blogs. So I was like, look, we need to get something, like, and I was thinking in bed, and I was like, something like, this planet, something, Jiu-Jitsu planet, like, it sounded cheesy, and all the names I was coming in, I was like, oh, and it was sounding so, like, cheesy, and I was like, Grappling Planet, and then it just hit me, Grappler's Planet, and I saw the logo already, and I was like, this is, like, for everybody, I want to make it, like, I want to make it a community for everybody to enjoy. It's not just for me, it's not just for business, because I don't think, like, it has to, whatever you do in life has to be coming from a passion that you can share with others. And that's why I call it Grappler's Planet, because we're all grapplers, jiu-jitsu, grappling, wrestling, judo, sambo, whatever. It's all grappling sports. That's why I call it the Grappler's Planet. And so, yeah, it started in 2010, and it was like, I just was sleeping, woke up, I was like thinking of something, and then it just popped up. And then from there, I woke up, but it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock. I was waking up, I was going on GoDaddy, and I was like checking the domain name, bought the domain name, and I started right away. And from then, I just basically never stopped, man.
Cool, man. So everybody listening right now or watching the video, you got to check out grapplersplanet.com. They've always got stuff from the Canadian scene especially, but worldwide they're always keeping up to date with Pan Ams and Worlds, and keeping you up to date on what's happening in the world of Jiu-Jitsu. So make sure to check that out. Speaking about business, though, you've got your own business in the way of an apparel fight company called VVV or VVV Fight Co.
Yep.
So what prompted you to start this? And tell us about like some of the hardships, because I know so many people who start businesses that don't last a year or two and they have to shut her down. But you've been going for a while here, so tell us about the struggle to keep it going and the successes that you've had since then.
Well, it's like everything in life, like there's always going to be ups and downs, pros and cons, and it is very hard to start a business. You're always about to fail, and it's how, through all the hurdles, how you step back up, like how you always, you have a point where you want to be, For example, I want my brand to be successful. I want my brand to be successful for different reasons. Okay, it's not just to make money. Of course, everybody does business to make a living. But I want it to be so that the more money, the more business I make, the more I can give back. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do. Now, when I started this, it was very hard because it's just like it's hard to find a company that can supply your brand or basically like give you like the good kimonos, the good garments.
Right.
So those were the first hurdles. So we went through a lot of trials and errors, and basically like when I wanted to do this was when there was not that many brands. Okay, I think there was Shoyoroll, On The Mat, Pride. Fighters Market, the website was just coming up.
Right.
So just very few brands. And I always had this saying that my grandfather, who was a historian, basically said when I was a kid, when I was studying. And I was not good when I was a kid. I was always trying to play outside, and I was not, into school. I was not having good grades when I was a kid. And so he was giving me all these quotes, and he was speaking fluent Latin. He was a historian and a professor in Belgium in a huge university.
Cool.
So he told me those words, Veni Vidi Vici. I came, I saw, conquer. And he's like, I want someday you to be able to say that. He wants, you have to go, you have to see, and you have to go and conquer. Whatever you want to do in life, you got to try and go in a direction, and you have to basically live your dreams. You gotta go. You can't look back. You can't just be with the minimum or the average. He was a guy I didn't understand until later I grew up, And that's why when I started this brand, these words always stuck with me. You know, for me, they're very powerful words. The words, and because they messaged me about those, they showed me their tattoos, and so you know, like when I heard that, I want my brand to have meaning. I don't want my brand like, oh, we're just fighting, or we're just like fighters and we do just jiu-jitsu. You know, I want it to be like a motto. You know, like to have a significance. So when you wear it, it has to connect with your lifestyle, your vision, your direction, what you want to do in life. So you know, and again, not everybody knows what Veni Vidi Vici means.
Right.
You know, and when you explain to them, then they're like, oh, I like that. You know, and that's what I want to do. It was not just to do a brand for, you know, like how you say, I didn't just want it to be just a brand. Right. I wanted it to be, in my mind, something extra. Like, you know, I want it to be my life and share with others. You know, like this is motivation. Like when you wear it, you're just like, you're pumped every day. You know, like it reminds you of the daily grind. It reminds you of the direction you should be going to go see and conquer. It means you got to go do things. You got to, you know, like the Mendes brother said, you have to achieve and you have to believe, right? So this is kind of like in the same direction.
Yeah, man, I can really see the passion in how you're explaining it, and I knew what it what it meant as just a Latin phrase. I'd heard it before, but the way you're describing it, it really puts that passion behind it, which I love. I hope it really is portrayed good to the listeners and the watchers. They really pick up on your passion for your own brand.
Indeed.
Thank you, man. It's not just marketing, man. It's just like really, it's something that we all live. We all want to do it, you know. Like we all want to make it in life. We all want to win. We all want to get that gold, you know. So that's why I want a brand. This brand was just basically for everybody that wants to go get it, just to represent what the sport, the life, the heart you have. Like, you know, it's for everybody, man. That phrase is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So you travel quite a bit. Whether it's California, Eastern Canada, you're always training, meeting great people within the world of BJJ. Please tell us some of your most memorable experiences training and traveling abroad.
So if my questions are too long, just let me know. You know, I just
no, man, this is like the meat of the whole thing.
That's what it's all about.
I love spending the time with you guys, and I just love speaking about this, and you know, so basically, like when I travel, like I'm lucky, man. You know, I'm really lucky because I get to meet. It doesn't matter if you're a black belt, world champion, or whatnot. When I travel, even if I got to roll with some of the best guys, I've got to meet some of everybody's idols, I would say, like, you know, David Buchecha, João Assis, Leonel Oliveira, Andre Galvao, Keenan Cornelius, you know, like to cite a few. I've met all these guys, the Mendes brothers, and man, when I see them, I'm lucky because a lot of people would die to just see them, roll with them, and so I always have like a thought for these people because I'm like, yes, I'm lucky, and the experience I gained from it, I want to share with others. So when they show me moves, I tell them like, oh, this is from this person, this is from that, and I show them to them, and people are just like so happy about it. And every time I roll with these people, that's what I think about. I'm like, oh, how can I benefit from it and share with other people? So I've got to meet a lot of good people that show me a lot of stuff, that the way they tell me their stories, you know, and then I sit back and as there's time, I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. So many ways, you know, to stay humble because you're like, you know, not everybody is lucky to do that, and you got to always be aware of it, and it makes you enjoy it more because you say, hey, you know, like, I'm here, a lot of people are not here, like sometimes do I deserve to be here, you know, like maybe others should be here, you know, and it's just like every time I'm there I enjoy it because of that. I'm like, you know what, this is just too awesome. I'm living a dream. I'm meeting these superstars, you know, like the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants of the mats, you know, and you get to roll with them. So basically, like that's how it helps me because I get to learn so much. I get to see and speak with all these people, and my experience is just like like the experience is there's no money that can express that the experience you get because on so many levels you just basically like I don't know how to express it, man. Like it's overwhelming in the sport because you look at people and then you see all these people that sorry I'm getting off track, man.
No.
Can I don't know, like, I got so much in my mind when it comes to that. So basically, like, just to make it short, when I travel, I see all these people. I try and learn as much as possible from them.
Okay.
When it comes on the mat, off the mats, relaxing with them, chilling with them, like going to restaurants, like going to the beach when I was in the beach, and like they always are willing to help you with your game. Like. Man, I don't know. Sorry, man. Sorry.
There's a few names that you had listed off that piqued my interest. You said Andre Galvao, Keenan Cornelius. So you must have been training down at Atos headquarters, eh?
No, I've trained with these guys in San Diego, California, hunting the beach, and to make it to let's just put it simply, like my game has always evolved from these people. Like that's why everything I've done, wherever I've been at, wherever I've trained, I've always taken something from them that sticks with me today in my jiu-jitsu game.
Everybody has some influence on your game.
Exactly. Everybody, all my game has different things. So it has a little bit of the let's say the Mendes passing, and then the Gavao or the Joao Assis pressure, or the back takes, and then everything that I do in my game by traveling so much, I use up to today, and it helps me a lot when I roll with new people. I love rolling with new people, and so when I roll with new people, I feel different games. Different people have different games, different like techniques and approaches to the game, and this allows me by traveling so much to adapt faster to people's different ways, I would say, of training and rolling.
Right.
And it helps me a lot in competition as well. Like it helps me a lot. So basically for me, the experience I have traveling helps me basically adapt faster to different environments and different types of game that I will like see throughout Canada or on the gym, and different people, body types, like fast, slow, pressure, pass, like whatever game they play, I feel like I can adapt and basically like respond to their game faster than if I've never done it. If I just stuck to my gym and not travel, I would feel like my game would be far less good as it is today.
Yeah, it's fascinating how the individuals that we meet in our lives for however short a time, we roll with them and we learn from them, or if we even exchange words with them, how much that fills in the gaps in our own life.
Yeah, you feel that training and you feel that competing. Sometimes you'll hit this move or you'll find this situation. You're like, oh, this is familiar all of a sudden, and maybe it wouldn't have been if you hadn't seen it from this one guy this one time.
Yeah,
it's really fun that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you compete a lot yourself,
Yeah.
Greg. Like there's quite a competition scene out in Eastern Canada. For people that don't realize it, it's basically the mecca of BJJ competitions in Canada. There's always seems to be an event coming up. You're promoting them through Grapplers Planet. You're there for press. You're there to compete. It's pretty cool. Give us your opinions then on competing often. Like, what are the ups and downs of doing so? Because, like I said, you're at it all the time. So I imagine there's injuries that come from it. There's big wins, big losses. Tell us about your experiences in that way.
So like I compete a lot because I believe that competing helps your jiu-jitsu. No matter that phrase, everybody knows that phrase, that you either win or you learn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's a phrase that I apply all the time in whatever I do. So when I compete, I mean, I'm not really training right now to be a world champion. I know that right now with my training, I could never become a world champion. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to put myself down. I'll be like, hey, like I'm not. No, I can't be a world champion because, a couple of my professors say this. Like my professor Jesse Richardson, Marco Costa tell this to me all the time. Professor Marco Costa, because when I train and I roll there, I'm like, oh, I want to train for this competition. They're like, well, it's good to train and compete, but you can't get to that high level if you don't dedicate your life and everything you can and all your will to just basically like that world championship. So I know that, but I will never stop because I love competing. Like competing for me is just something that I love to test myself. I love to see how well all my training, as serious or I always train serious. I always train to help others. So I always try and give my best. But when I compete, I always want to see how well I can do against someone that I have never trained or roll with, and in a different setting. For me, to be honest with you, I don't understand how people don't go out and compete as much as they can, because it helps you in so many ways. Even if you're a hobbyist or an avid or a true competitor and you just live that lifestyle, like I can understand the stress. I have the stress all the time, the anxiousness, butterfly in your stomach, and I love that feeling because when you go on your mat, and Drew, you compete a lot, right? You know how that is. Like every time you step and they call your name and say they call you to come on the mats, that butterfly you have just goes away, and then it's just like blank. All you see is that opponent, the ref, you shake their hand, it's go time, boom, the game comes together. Yep. You know that feeling, man? It's just it's just awesome, man.
It's a good feeling.
Like I'm telling you, man, I love this. And there's a competition, there's Grappling Industries and SAU next month, and I can't wait to go compete, man. And I want to go compete at your events too, Drew.
Yeah, come out west.
Yeah, man, we have to do it. But when I compete, man, it's just like I'm like, okay, good. I'm gonna now roll against this guy, and if I win, my game was proven to be good on that day. If not, then I know I'm gonna be better the next day because I'm gonna try and fill those gaps, those holes that I had up to that fight, and I'm gonna try and fill it. I'm gonna be like, why did this guy beat me on this point, on that point? Was it endurance? Was it my gas? Was it basically like he was more pressure? He was, So when I compete, there's all these feelings that come in and that pushes me. Because I know that whenever I compete, I know whatever the outcome is after that I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to get better. And that's why I love competing, Yeah. And so, man, when you have that medal and they call your name and you're on top of the podium, or whatever medal, it's just a cool feeling, man. You feel like your work has paid off. You achieve something, and for someone that doesn't do jiu-jitsu or doesn't do the sport, for them, for them, you drive home, you're happy with your medal. For them, they might not care about it. They're like, whatever, you're just jiu-jitsu. Well, what is that? It means nothing at the end of the day. But, to us, it means so much. We're so proud of it. I'm so proud when I get to compete. Winning or losing, I shake my opponent's hand. I give him a hug because, we're living the same dream. We're doing the same thing, and he could have won. I lost, or I won, and he could have, won. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just giving him that respect. That's the thing. Like, I love the camaraderie that we have, and how the community comes together in those times. I make so many new friends when I compete, and that's also another thing what I like to do at competitions, is meet new people.
Yeah.
I meet awesome people, man, like from different walks of life, and that's the thing that I love the most about jiu-jitsu, is that you meet so many people from so many different walks of life, different professions, and I will tell you, man, when I was in California, I met so many good people that I still have friends today that helped me out so much when I was there. I was basically on my own, But if I didn't have this community and these people say, oh, you do jiu-jitsu, I'm going to help you out. Or, for example, Sean Roberts' dad is a doctor, and I needed stitches on my eye.
Oh yeah.
You know, like he just said, hey, you know, I'm gonna fix you up, or you know, I needed a car. My friend Jason lent me a car. You know, like this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like so many people are so willing to give to you, and that's why even if you don't give back to these people because they don't need it at that time, you always have to pay for it and give it to someone else. And that's what I love about the community, and that's why whenever I get to travel or compete, I meet a lot of people that, you know, you can help. They help you. You do things together. You can do so much, man. It opens up so many doors and so many levels. And it's not just take. I love to you take, you give back. You know, you do this, you pay forward. You know, that's what I love about this sport, and that's why I love to go and compete and travel, because you're like, I'm always gonna meet amazing people, man.
Yeah.
So regardless, you know, that's why I really love this sport,
That's
man.
such a good attitude to have, man.
There was a point that you touched on a little bit earlier I wanted to expand on too, about some people that don't feel it's necessary to compete, and I come across that, you know, from time to time. And I'm not going to be the person who says yes, everyone has to compete in my gym, because, you know, for some people it really doesn't matter to them, and I get that. But I think that for myself, the biggest benefit you get out of it, you come across these schools that don't allow you to cross train. You find these schools that they know you can't go train over there. They're worried about students leaving, and, you know, they've got their political things going on or whatever. But competition is a free-for-all for cross-training. It's the best, hardest cross-training you can get, because you're going to go against guys from other gyms you haven't gone against before sometimes, you know, and you get to feel, what have they learned? What are they doing over there? How does my game match up against that? And like you're saying, the lessons you get out of that, you'll never get just from staying in your gym.
No, like that, and that's exactly, like, you're absolutely right. Like, see, like I teach, you know, I teach sometimes at Matador. I have my own program at UMAC and at Team UMAC. I train also at other places. Now, when you say cross training, my version of cross training is not to. When I say I cross train, I don't go and take lessons at other schools. You know, I only learn from my professor from my school, Master Bering, Professor Jesse at Matador. That's where I go to school. That's where I go and learn my technique. Now, when I go cross training, it's just for open mats or rolling with other people, because you have to. You need that to grow. Because when you just stay at your school, man, you know, you just get used to your training partner's game. Sure. You just know, okay, I know this guy's gonna do this, or this guy just is good at spider guard, so I'm just gonna, and it becomes stalemate, and not as exciting in the sense that you each know your game, and you don't improve, or I would say you don't improve as fast. That when you go and train with somebody that you don't train as often with, you know, like basically like, you get better, man. It's like it's like, you know, you just get used to different things, and again, you adapt faster to different people's game, and then you can always bring that to your school. And if everybody did that, everybody's skills would go up, and then the whole sport would get better faster. I mean, that's my point of view. Right. You know. Now I understand why people don't allow to do it. I mean, like, you know, there's a lot of schools that don't allow to do it, and I respect them. And I don't go and ask people that, you know, sometimes I've had some professors tell me, hey, you know, you have open mats and stuff, like, I'd rather not my students come to your open mats or to other open mats, so don't ask them to come. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I understand, you know, like, too bad. It kind of sucks for the students, because, you know, I wouldn't be able to stay in a school that doesn't allow me to go roll at other open mats, you know, like, for example. That's just me. But the thing is, I understand why they do it. There's different factors, you know. They don't want to lose their students, or they don't want their students to have bad habits or whatnot, you know. Like, I mean, I respect everybody. I respect their decision. It's their school. It's their students. That's all entirely up to them. So that's why the more they compete, as you said, the more they get to experience different things. So that's why also, if you don't like to compete and you can't basically like go to other open mats, it's better that you do actually compete, because it will still give you a feel for something new. And whenever you, again, if you don't win, you learn, right? Yeah. So that's the thing, though, man. You know, competition is very good. It's just not. It's not. You don't compete to get medals. You know, like for me, it's not that. For me, it's to take you outside of your element, and by anytime you take yourself out of the comfort zone, you always learn and benefit from it. And that's why I tell my students, you know, go and compete. And I know some won't. A lot of people don't have it inside because they're too scared or not scared, but you know, they don't feel comfortable with it, or they just don't feel like it's for them, you know, or they don't want to get hurt, whatever.
Sure.
I always give them that, you know, like the respect of saying, you know what, I understand. But if you want to go and train and you to compete and you want to compete, I'll be there with you 100%. If you don't and you don't feel like it, I'm still with you 100%. You know, like I'm still there to try and teach you or show you the best I can in jiu-jitsu, you know, because other people show me the best they can. So I feel, again, that's how I can give back. But, you know, like for me, it's sad when all this, that's why with my website and my own squad, I try not to be part of the politics because, you know, I try and stay neutral because I think that everybody can benefit, because I know from my experience that I've benefited from being able to go and train and roll with so many other people that my jiu-jitsu is for me where it's at today, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean that's why I say people, like even my students, yeah, go just let me know where you're training, you know, or tell professor where you're training just to make sure that they know they're okay with it. And so, like, you know, like whatever you learn from there, you bring it back to us, you show it, you know, like so everybody can benefit, and then vice versa, you know. So if we go somewhere else, I show them some other stuff, you know.
Right. Then there's no conflict of interest happening. So
Exactly.
What are some names of potential Eastern Canadian competitors that are hitting that scene that we maybe should know about on this end?
Yeah, there's so many superstars coming out of the East. It seems it's hard to keep track. And being a guy who, like I said, was at so many tournaments and is doing so much coverage, who are the guys? Who are these up and comers, man? Give us the secrets. Tell us the names. Who are these guys we gotta look for?
Well, you know, there's quite a bit, but I see a lot of these blue belts and purple belts that are doing like amazing stuff. And I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous of them. Not in the jealousy, not in a hating way. Now, jealous in the sense that I wish I could have their skills that they have now and learn jiu-jitsu as early as they have now, because they're amazing, man. They're just like freaking good, man. You know, like for example, from Barrio 4, there's Ryan Almonte. He's gonna be really good. This guy is solid. You know, like oh man, you have like, you know, of course you have like Mike Sheehan, you know. The guy is winning. He actually won the Budo Open this weekend. You know, Ever Dekma. These are the guys that are growing in the sport. You know, who else? Cameron Florzak, man. This guy is gonna he's gonna end up winning, you know, the world title or something. I just see him like one of the top Canadians that goes on the world scene. I see him for sure. You know, like Arthur, you know, one of the top guys. I mean, you know, speaking of it right now, like there's so many names. Like man, it's just like a lot of guys from Toronto BJJ. I mean,
yeah, it's a big school
you know,
out there.
like these guys, you know, like man, these guys just a non-stop, man. You know, like these guys, I'm telling you, they're closest to what it is in the U.S., man. Like, when it comes to training,
well, yeah,
I see them. They're
like Darcy
they're
coming out. You've got
riding hard, you know. Like, and again, they're what they do, man. You know, and a lot of people, you know, like you just it. You can have your opinion about what they do, but in the end, they're going out there and they're going hard, you know. So I mean, they were there also, weren't they? Like at the last event, right, in Alberta, or there was a jiu-jitsu competition. They did really well.
Yeah. There was over actually in the BC for the Western Canadian Championships, the CBJJ. There was a bunch of Eastern guys that came out and kind of did
like
East versus West thing.
And Dennis is an up-and-coming star, man. You know, Dennis, he's actually really good, man. He just actually did really well at the Submission Pro. The guys that you basically should be watching out are the guys that are being like competing at the sub-only events, because they basically like nowadays everybody asks who they should get on those shows,
Yeah.
and then feel like by popular demand these are the kind of people that they want, and you know, like Josh Presley, Chris Lee Barn, Cameron Florzak, Patricia Vandermeer, you know, like David Domini, a lot of these like Sam Osman, a lot of these guys, you know, they have a potential to be doing some big stuff, man.
Yeah, that's a good point you made. With what Kat Clark is doing out there with Submission Series Pro, they're drawing these people that are really exciting from the local scene and putting them on a big stage. So that's a great way, like you're saying, for people from out of the area to really take a barometer of where this talent is and who the names are behind it. That's a good point. So, man, we're kind of wrapping up here pretty soon here, but I know you've got like so many people that you're happy about, thankful about. You've got, you know, sponsored athletes. You want any shout outs, any name drops? You know, it's just this is your time for your peeps, man.
Man, first off, I want to thank you guys, you and Logan, to get me on this, because, like, you know, I've never done this before. I won't say I'm camera shy, but, you know, like, you guys are the first guys I do this with, and, you know, like, I'm very happy to share this with you guys, so I want to thank you first. Of course, I want to thank my team. You know, my team is awesome. They work so hard. You know, like, they're awesome, man. They're trying to make it happen while I'm trying to help them to get where they want, you know, and I just want to thank them for being the best fighters that, you know, like, I have on the team. Like, you know, like, they're the reason why I keep pushing. They help me out with the brand. They give me their thoughts and everything. So, and they always give me their all when they compete. And, you know, they're always nice, man. They're awesome people. You know, I want to thank my partner as well, because without him, I couldn't be living my dream, you know. I want to thank my professor, my master Bering, civil bearing, Professor Jesse Richardson, Marco Costa, True BJJ, you know, like Josh Badman, who helps me a lot with Grapples Planet. The guy's awesome. You know, there's so many people I want to thank, you know, but, you know, you know, the main people that helped me where I'm at today are the people I want to thank. So, Joseph de los Reyes, Professor Jesse Richardson, Lisa, you know, like, my team, of course, and for whoever's following me on GP, you know, like, all the fans, I want to thank them, because without the fans and without the people, you know, like, helping this thing grow and giving us the opportunity to live this dream, you know, we wouldn't be here. So I want to thank everybody that follows Grapples Planet, Triple V. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and being part of this. And every day we grow because, you know, like, we're doing it for you guys.
Awesome, man. So if someone wants to watch this podcast and sees the awesome shirt and killer hat you're wearing and wants to get one, where do you go?
You go to Triple V Fight Co, so VVVFightCo.com. Okay, so we're rebuilding the website now. It should be live by Wednesday. It's like, you know, like, smartphone friendly, so you can do a lot of stuff from there. And, you know, like, so Triple V Fight Co, VVVFightCo.com, and the hats, we have new gi dropping in next month, and also we have the new tank tops that are dropping in by Wednesday as well on the new website. And the Pure Jiu-Jitsu is just awesome.
Yeah, man, it's looking good. I'm liking the style coming out of your brand. It's really fresh in your face.
Thank you. I'll send you guys a couple.
That wasn't what I was getting at. I would appreciate it for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Cool, man. Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on tonight, Greg. Yeah, like, it's been such a pleasure to have you on, and you're welcome back on the show anytime. I'm looking forward to you coming out here and competing, or me going out there and getting some rolls with you, because you're just awesome character, great person. You know, if anyone is at a tournament and sees Greg, go and shake his hand and make sure to get some rolls with this guy, because he's a good human. All right,
thank you very much, and I hope to see you guys soon. Definitely, I'll come out there.